Mike in Montclair. What's up, Mike?
A couple of weeks ago, they did a all-time Yankee team, listing, the different players at different positions. And I had no problem with any of the positions except second base.
I mean, it's a pretty obvious team.
It is. But at second base, they put Willie Randolph. And I didn't agree with that.
They put Robinson Cano?
Yeah. So you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, check for me. All right. Yes. Also, David Cohn told a story the other night on air about his perfect game and why he dropped to his knees at the conclusion of the game, because when he was watching the U.S. Tennis Open in 1975, the winner of that particular tournament dropped to his knees, and it left an impression on him, so he decided at the end of that game that he was going to mimic that and drop to his knees, which he did. The only problem was he mispronounced badly the winner of that particular U.S. Open. He called him Miguel Ortiz. Do you remember the name of the guy that actually won the 1975 men's tennis U.S. Open?
Manuel Orantes?
You're on your game today. And now we've all finally know why you're endorsing Trump, because he likes to win, which sounds about as logical as Lou Holtz's and
no, Bobby it doesn't. What I mean is, and let me explain.
Did you hear his video?
But let me say what I meant. What I meant was, he cares more about doing a good job than just about anybody. Like, he will work 20 hours a day, every day, and his ego is so massive that he will be driven, insanely driven. He won't be off playing golf. He won't be off taking 4-week vacations. He won't be chopping wood in some wood somewhere. He won't be off vacationing 8 times a year. He will be working 20 hours.
Obama was taking 8 vacations a year.
I think both Obama and George W. Bush took a ton of vacations.
Did you hear the recording today?
A ton of vacations. I don't think either one has given us a day's work.
Did you hear the latest Donald Trump saga? Did you hear the recording of him pretending to be a publicist today?
No,
I'm being serious.
I don't know this one.
It's all over the news. In 1991, he called up People magazine pretending to be a publicist named John Miller.
And he was there was a guy named John Miller. There was a newspaper guy who now works in security.
Worked for the police department. Yes.
Works for security. Yes.
But there was a guy named he pretended to be John Miller in a veiled attempt to brag about himself, and they have him on. They have his voice, which is clearly his voice.
It's pretty strange.
But it's
let me ask you something.
Yeah. And you realize this is going to be the biggest landslide victory in the history of elections.
It will, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Explain to me, Mike.
You think she's a... Wait a second.
The Hispanic vote, the black vote, the millennial vote,
well, let me ask you something. Let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
How did she, on a debate stage, how does she explain Benghazi?
She did 18 hours.
How does she explain? How does she? How does she
explain? For 18 hours and answered every question.
And what?
And you think he's going to uncover something that they haven't tried to uncover already?
I mean, let's be honest. They were both.
He's going to spend more time.
She was completely derelict in her duties. I mean, completely derelict. There's no way around it. I mean, listen, whether you like it or not, and listen, I think I'm fair. I really do. I'm not trying to tell you that Hillary is some person who's completely unqualified.
Well, she's qualified.
I didn't say she wasn't qualified. Okay. But I also think that she has been we've had 30 years of their government. And I've had enough of their government. And if you don't think Bill Clinton is every bit as big a factor in running his country with her as she is, then you're lost. They are a team. They are a team. And I've had enough of their government. I don't need any more of their... Listen, let me tell you something else. If you believe, here's a perfect example. Do you think anyone in the right mind, and I don't like to do this stuff because it's just, because I'm not debating someone because it's my show and everything, but do you believe that unemployment has improved since he took over office? Now listen, George Bush did a terrible job with the economy.
You're the first to admit you don't let me answer.
Yeah, do you believe it's good?
Do I think it's a true factor that it's 5%? No. Right. No.
Do you know that in real terms?
I know that people have stopped looking for jobs.
Do you know that in real terms, it is worse than when Jimmy Carter was president? It is worse than at any time since Jimmy Carter was president. That's how bad it is. So they basically fix the numbers, cook the numbers, and make it look like unemployment has gone straight down. Unemployment has not gone down. So when are they going to start telling people the truth? Unemployment hasn't gone down. That's the kind of nonsense that is just, they allow these people to do this stuff. I mean, come on, we all know unemployment. Every week you see the unemployment numbers. Those are unreal. If you're on there for X number of time, you are just taken off the list. You're unemployable. I mean, come on now. I mean, to me, listen, there were a million things negative about both candidates. A million. So if somebody wants to run as a third-party candidate because they don't like either one, that's okay. I mean, it will probably cause one or the other election based on whatever side they come out on. Like if somebody comes out and tries to run on Hillary's side, they're going to lose. And if somebody comes out on the other side, they're going to lose. So bottom line is, if you're a third-party candidate, you're just going to get in the way. You're not going to win. There's no way you're going to win. And you really still could get on the ballot, including the two states that are before June, which is North Carolina and Texas, and they both have lost court battles against us, so you could get on the ballot, but it's not going to happen. The point is, there's negatives on both sides of both candidates. I'm not going to say there's not, but what I'm saying is, I want to give somebody a different shot at it, and I don't think the country is going to change that much in foreign policy, because I don't think foreign policy changes that much. Now, you got to make a couple of decisions, but I would hope that a president, no matter who he was, could make a better decision than was made that night when it came to those guys. From what I've seen, I would hope that a better decision could be made. I really could. And that's a hard one. And I'll tell you something. The worst thing that could ever happen to Trump would be that she ever got indicted and had to step down. Because if they put Joe Biden in there, and they would never put Bernie in there because he couldn't win. But if they put Joe Biden in there, it would be over because he'd be incredibly popular. At this point, he would walk in there, and he's got popularity on both sides of the aisle. He's been around forever. He would be very hard to beat. Very hard to beat. But I don't think they would ever, with this president in office, I don't think he would ever allow her to be indicted in an election year. I don't think it would happen. I really don't, for her emails. I don't think. But if it did, it'd be the worst thing that ever happened to Trump. He should run against her. He's got a chance to beat her. He would never beat Joe Biden. Never. And that's not because I'm a big Joe Biden fan, but Joe Biden as a candidate right now, coming in after not being beat up all this time, he would be popular because he's a guy who people know and trust. So he would be very acceptable, I think, to a lot of people. Now, but I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't. I think she will be allowed to run. I really do. But I think they both have very high, unacceptable portions of their resumes. I really do. I think you can punch a lot of negatives into both sides. I would not say that you couldn't. It'd be silly to say that. But I want to take a new swing at this. I really think that we have just started to just mail in the government. And it's just, doesn't matter who's in charge. Everything stays the same. Nothing changes. We go along. We spend into oblivion. And I think it's got to stop. I really do. So I'd like to see somebody try something different. That's all. And again, I don't mind someone else having a different opinion. I'm very open to that. I'm not one of these people who, if you have a different political opinion, then you're there's something wrong with you. I don't think that way. I think there's more than enough room for divergent opinions, both liberal and conservative. There's nothing wrong with either position. I'm not a demagogue. I'm not someone who thinks that the other position is evil or wrong or anything else. I think you're allowed to have your position. I think it's very healthy to have different positions. I think that's actually healthy in this country to have that. It really is.